baseball team, went on to punt for the football team at Boston University, named to the Atlantic All-League team in 1992, earned NFL tryouts with the Philadelphia Eagles and Denver Broncos. And a quick story, we were playing basketball senior year, and obviously Chris was one of the best players, and he's lining up for a free throw that's going to win the game. And I come in and I say, this whisper in his ear, of course he doesn't remember this, but I do, but he whispered in his ear, "You're the best player in the league, you make the shot." And I feel like, and he looked at me like, I know I'm the best player in the league, why are you telling me? He obviously is modest, but I felt like, and I just walked away and said, well, at least I'll have a story to tell years from now at the Hall when he gets inducted to the Hamilton Webb Hall of Fame. So anyway, Chris Rock.
Presenting Chris is a thrill for me. Chris Rock will be remembered as one of the best three-sport athletes in school history. His impact on the success of the football, basketball, and baseball programs is undeniable. The Salem News ranked him the third best football player in school history. He was an all-league player and MVP in basketball and baseball as well. Chris was the state Division II MVP in 1988 when Hamilton Wenham won the only state baseball championship in school history. In the 6 tournament games, he hit .391 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs, and had 3 outstanding pitching performances with a 1.99 earned run average. Although he could have played any of the 3 sports at the collegiate level, Chris accepted a football scholarship to Boston University, where his senior year he was named to the Atlantic All-League team, which led to an NFL tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles. His locker was next to Herschel Walker, so if you want some dirt on Herschel, Chris is the man to see. Chris has received many honors in his life, but his wife Heidi and I know his greatest honor was when she accepted his proposal. It is my honor and privilege to present you not only one of Hamilton Wenham's best ever athletes, but also one of the best people you'll ever meet, Chris Rock.
Wow. Rob, I do remember that moment, and all I kept thinking was, get out of my face. Let me focus on the rim and let's win this game and get out of here. Thank you very much. I'm so humbled to be standing here tonight, to share this room with these amazing people in front of me is more than humbling. I am forever grateful to be viewed as a contributor to the Hamilton Wenham Athletic Program, a program that I was obsessed with during my high school years. I would like to thank the selection committee members, Doug Hoke for his introduction, Trevor Jones, Patricia Field, Athletic Director Craig Ginaldo for this great honor. And above all, I have so much love for the Generals faithful who took their time to be here tonight. I mentioned Trevor Jones, and it's been mentioned a couple of times. For those that do not know, myself included up until a few months ago, it was through his effort during the final semester of his senior year as part of the Diversified Learning Program, a capstone project seniors can take for academic credit, that made tonight possible. Jones stated in an interview I read that when he came into high school as a freshman, it was a totally different high school than when he left. That it lacked the sort of community or historical connections he'd witnessed in other schools' athletic programs. And finally, that he wanted to do something to keep the Generals' pride in the uniqueness. As I read the article, I could relate to him on several fronts. The first was the undertaking of a capstone project. He tackled it, he did the research, he sold the school committee, and he's responsible for roughly 200 people being here tonight. I also attempted a capstone project when I was at BU. I failed miserably, and I left an auditorium with 200 people scratching their heads wondering what I had just said. The second was the need for community or historical connections. I've always had a deep curiosity and appreciation for the past, for the people and places that came before me, and the changes that take place over time. Consider where we are tonight. Prior to Spinelli's opening in 2000, the town line stood here for roughly 60 years. It resembled a Mount Vernon-style column country mansion. It had a mammoth glassed-in terrace overlooking Lake Suntog behind us. From the 1930s through the 1990s, the town line house represented classy, special event dining. Entrees were served in these silver covers, and finger bowls were provided at the end of meals. The pecan rolls and popovers were a real draw. I remember coming here on occasion with my grandparents as a youngster. I can still remember the sights and sounds as you walked in. Some things, some places you never forget. The sights and sounds growing up as the son of a coach in Chelmsford are also ones I'll never forget. My older brother Jay and I spent most of our youth following my father around from football field to the basketball court, as he coached at the varsity level. We were exposed to the high school scene, the athletes, the athletics at an early age. I have vivid memories of being at practices watching the players, of being in the locker rooms listening to them talk, along with the music in the background, and watching them compete on game day. It was not uncommon for the football team at Chelmsford to dress 100 players on game day. I can still recall a sea of maroon and white storming onto the field to face Merrimack Valley foes Dracut, Methuen, and Lowell. I was at BU in 1978 as an 8-year-old for the Division II Super Bowl between Chelmsford and Catholic Memorial, when a late fourth quarter touchdown was called back on Chelmsford for clipping, which would have put Chelmsford ahead. They would go on to lose that game 13-8. I don't know who was more upset after the game, the players, the coaches, or me. The basketball games were no different. Packed gyms, loud, intense, as most games came down in the final few minutes. I recall sitting right behind the bench surrounded by the players' warm-up attire. The ball is on one side of me, the water on the other. Right there, close to the action. I heard the direction from my father to the players during timeouts, the direction from him to the officials during the game, an occasional technical foul, which we never really discussed afterwards. I hung on every shot, agonized over every miss, and slapped every player's hand after the game. It was not uncommon for me to jump into a basketball practice and participate, mostly drills, but every now and then, if needed, a 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 scrimmage. Every now and then, roughly 35 years later, I still see some of those former players and remind them when I drained a 25-footer over them, or stole the ball. I had the opportunity to watch film sessions, listen to coaches, debate strategy, player assignments, and adjustments. But it wasn't just the players and coaches I had the opportunity to interact with and observe. It was the trainers, the equipment guys, scorekeepers, PA announcers, the people who took in the tickets, ran the concessions, the bus drivers, the custodians, officials, and just to complete the list, and probably the best group, cheerleaders. There was a sense of community. Everyone seemed connected. even at that young age, I wanted to be a part of it. Along with the individual work my father did, my brother and I, throwing us passes, teaching us how to dribble with both hands, the countless games of horse in the driveway, batting practice, he had exposed us to a work ethic. We saw that played out through his players and teams over the years. Speaking of my older brother, I would like to thank him publicly. He couldn't be here tonight as he was picking up his own son who was flying in from college. Jay led by example growing up. Everything I was about to do on and off the field, he had already done. I was very fortunate to have a brother I could learn from. My mother was the perfect mom. She drove us around to our practices, picked us up afterwards, allowed us to attend games during school nights when my father was coaching, as well as be present at our games. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I was obsessed with the Hamilton Wenham Athletic Program. Moving from Chelmsford to Hamilton in 1980, we lived only one street over. Access to the school and athletic fields was easy. I remember walking over to the school and on the property many times. Sometimes I would just walk around the high school and circle it, and circle it, and circle it. Images ran through my mind how I wanted things to play out. When I hit high school in 1984 as a freshman, I was focused on several things: competing and just simply trying to get better. I wouldn't be standing up here tonight if it hadn't been for all the positive people that came into my life. Many of them are here tonight. First and foremost is Steve Sawyer. He referenced earlier he was the basketball coach. Coach Sawyer gave me the opportunity as a freshman to play in the varsity basketball team. I knew of Coach Sawyer as he had coached against my father's Manchester teams during the early 80s. They had some of the great games with the likes of Marchetti and Askew leading Hamilton. I remember vividly one night a packed Hamilton gym in 1981 when the two teams squared off. It was late in the season. Whoever won would end up winning the championship. The gym was electric. I played for Coach Sawyer as my sophomore year before he stepped down as varsity coach. I'd like to publicly thank him for having the confidence in me at a young age. The second person is Doug Hoke. Like Coach Sawyer, I knew Coach Hoke from afar. He was an assistant basketball coach under Coach Sawyer. My brother had him as a coach. And we had scrimmages against his teams in basketball, and he took over as the varsity basketball coach at North Shore Regional Vocational High School. I was fortunate enough to have Coach Hoke as a baseball coach when he took over the program my junior year. He was instrumental in my development as a pitcher. Movement, location, the ability to change speeds, and velocity, all in that order. Coach Hoke and I connected quickly. We were both into fitness and spent considerable time in the weight room. We would discuss weightlifting regimens, spot each other if need be, have conversations just about anything. We had an agreement during baseball season that I was not to go overboard being a pitcher. The last thing I wanted to do was do too much and be tight. In no way was I to be lifting on days that I was scheduled to pitch. During my senior year, we found ourselves in the weight room. We were scheduled to play home that day, and I was pitching. However, it rained a considerable part of the day. The grounds were soaked. It was still wet at the time. School was just about over. There was no way we were going to be playing. Principal Elwell came over the intercom with the end of the day announcements, one of which was the baseball game was still on. Coach Hoke looked at me, I looked at him, and he said, "I didn't see you in here." We did win that game, and I think I finally got loose around the 6th inning. Coach Hoke, myself, and my teammates will be forever linked for what took place over a 2-week span when we claimed the Division II state championship in 1988. It was a magical 6-game run, full of upsets, come from behind wins, and plays that we still talk about almost 30 years later. Next person I would like to thank is Coach Dan Kadaris. Coach Kadaris took over the football program my sophomore year in 1985. He was instrumental in my development as a quarterback. The Generals program was down at the time as they suffered 3 consecutive losing seasons. Coach Kadaris brought a toughness to the program that remained there until he retired 7 years later. There were countless big games and none more satisfying than that first year when we met North Andover at home during homecoming. We were both undefeated at the time, with North Andover favored. We won that game 21-13. It would be the only loss for North Andover that year. I can still remember meeting with him before games in the gym, covering the game plan. I also had him in math, so we would cover it there again. I'd like to also thank Coach Bob Weinhold. When I was a freshman, we were playing Masco, and I had felt a little woozy after the game. So, to err on the side of caution, they decided to take me over to Beverly Hospital to make sure I didn't have a concussion. So Coach Weinhold came with me. We went into Beverly Hospital. We went into the exam room. Physician came in, was looking me over, and proceeded to ask me who the President of the United States was. Before I could answer him, Coach Weinhold said, "What the hell are you asking him that for? He didn't know it yesterday." My coaches always had a way of putting me in my place. The next person is Coach Rich Butterworth, or as we used to call him, Butter. I knew Coach Butterworth going back when we first moved to Hamilton, as he taught phys ed at the elementary level. He was instrumental as anyone when it came to my development as a basketball player. He was a stickler for details, obsessed about defense, and the most excitable coach when you drew an offensive foul. There was a pivotal 2 games my senior year when we played back-to-back games late in the season against Newburyport and North Andover, which would ultimately determine the league championship. Both games came down to the final minute, and we were victorious in both of them. We ended up winning the championship, finishing 16-2. Coach Butterworth was a huge part of that with his leadership and direction. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my teammates. Some of them are here tonight. Many of them I haven't seen in years. I love my teammates. I wouldn't be up here tonight without them. I know I will see some of them in a few days, and it won't take long after a few minutes of chit-chat to start recalling this game or that play, or remember this. Athletics has a way of bringing people together, of connecting them, not only while they're playing, but well beyond. Some things, some places, you never forget. Thank you.